YouTube. It's Saturday night again, out in the scale workshop. Getting started a little early tonight. I think it's only around 6:30, 7 o'clock. Sun's still out. So, as you can see here, I want to talk about scratch-built chassis tonight. Now, you just watched the intro of me that was filmed last Sunday night when I made this chassis here that we're looking at, two of these. And talk a little bit about what you saw there. That was originally the frame that I made for the big red lowrider build, and it didn't jive right. The suspension wasn't working out, and the rear end of it was kind of tweaked off to the side a little bit. That was my very first attempt at a scratch built frame, and I learned so much from all those mistakes I made, and that's kind of how I've ended up with the hot rods going a little better. How the number 2 came out so good, because I learned a lot from messing up that big red lowrider. But I'm not going to waste all that metal, and it's got holes drilled in it and had bad welds. But I went back and fixed and re-welded some of the joints, strengthened things up, and I think I may have accidentally made 2 usable frames out of it. So let's start with the one on the right here. That was the rear section of the car, and it's going to be a weird frame. I don't know if I can use that, what I'm going to use that for. That's a really tight midsection there, but I don't know. I hate to waste it. Even if I have to cut it up and use pieces of it for something else, that's what we'll do. But it looks like another frame, and since I strengthened up some of the welds on it, it's actually they're square. Everything's even from side to side. So we'll see what happens with that. I don't have any plans at the moment. I didn't have any plans for the other one either, but you saw where we ended up with that. And this is what we've got. Now, I have a few things in the works, as I always do. I don't usually plan ahead, but I brainstorm ahead quite a bit. And I've been wanting to do a build like this for a long time. And that's the reason I have this truck cab here I got from Nightcrawlers 3D. But I'm not going to use that cab on this frame. It just doesn't fit quite right, but I do have another cab coming, and this will be a new build once I find some axles. I think what I'm going to do on this, I'm going to do something I have never done on the channel. I think I may buy an axial. I'm not sure yet if I want to go with a wraith width axle or an SCX10 axle. I hit up the Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist and stuff around, seeing if I could find a used one locally today so I could have some parts to throw at this, but there was just nothing close enough without driving 3 hours round trip, and the stuff was a little expensive, so we were just going to have to go on eBay and start searching for parts, I guess. But yeah, I did nothing. This chassis was made, it was just the front half of the other chassis, so I just cut it and I reinforced the welds and squared it up, put cross members in it, and it fit this engine perfectly. Let me get you a closer look. I really couldn't have got any of this stuff to fit better if I had tried. Let me pull this cab. Other than the cab, the other cab I'm getting is a little bit shorter, I hope, and it should fit perfectly. This is the Kevin Kirk engine that I've had forever. I had it in my monster truck build last year, and I never finished that. I can't decide where I want to use this engine. It's been sitting around the scale garage for a while. It's a big blown, like, Top Fuel funny car type engine with all the bells and whistles on it, and it just set in the width of these rails perfectly, and it sits between the notch here and the cross member perfectly. No fuss, no nothing. The proportions of this came out excellent. And this is the grill we looked at last week, the one that's Ossum Designs 3D print, and those are available on his Shapeways store. If you go to shapeways.com and search by designer and just type Ossum Designs, Ossum, and you can see all the hot rod stuff that he's done for me, the cab that he designed, and all his awesome stuff's up there on the Ossum page. And yeah, you can get those, and it's pretty inexpensive. I can't remember exactly, but those and the seats, the rat rod seats that we did, that he came up with for me that I weathered and stuff. Those are on there as well. But yeah, that fit perfectly between these chassis rails as well, and everything looks, the proportions are right. I've got tires roughly where the front axle would sit, just behind the grill, just in front of the motor. That allows plenty of room here for shock mounts on either side, depending on what type of axle setup I end up running. So you can see here with this big step in the front, I'm going to make a reinforcement plate, and that will be where the links mount. What I'll probably do for mounting a transmission, I'm going to run, if I do a big scale motor up front, I'm going to have to run a one-piece transfer case gearbox type setup like SEX10 or a Wraith would have on it. Something standard like that. And we'll have I'll probably weld a plate. I don't have any steel thick enough to do that now. Weld a plate across the bottom, drill some mounting holes, and bolt it up like you would on a stock SEX10. We'll have to clearance the drive lines and stuff. This cross member may be a problem. We'll just have to see once we get there. Once I get all the running gear in, figure out placement. But that's the idea. The body will sit on top, hide all the electronics. There won't be any interior. There's no space. We're going all engine compartment on this type of build, and engine and rear suspension and front suspension. But the rear end's going to be pretty cool. And what I want to do, all this stuff just came into place, and the body is being printed, so it's going to be a little bit before it's here. But I was so excited all week. I wanted to build a cage for this chassis. I wanted to try to do some tube work with my new welder and build a whole like truggy back half and an XO cage for whatever body, something to go around the front engine area, make a stinger, the whole 9 yards. I've got all the tubes for it, or all the steel rods, and then this deal fell into place with the body, so now I'm stuck waiting on it because it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a better look, and it's going to fit this chassis perfect. So I can't do any roll bars and stuff until I have the body, so I know the exact shape of it and all that. So it's going to be kind of on hold, but it'll give me time to track down some drivetrain components. I'm going to hit up eBay later and see if I can find a cheap SEX10 roller. So everything I found locally had brushless setups and Tekin this and that, and it was, it was $350, $400, and I'm just looking for axles and a transmission really. The links and stuff we can figure out. I've got enough stuff to do a lot of that. Part of me wants to just tear the mud truck frame apart and use those axles, but those Yoda axles I don't think are gonna be right for this. I need something beefier. Ideally, I would go straight to RC 4-wheel drive and get some like ballistic fab machined axles, but just don't have the money for what those axles cost. I could buy an SEX10 and I'll have everything I need. So it might be a later upgrade. We can upgrade to some aluminum housings or something for the SAX axles and stuff like that. But that's just where my head's at right now with this. Like I said, this frame all just kind of fell into place. I'm not sure yet. I still, there's so much welding left to do on it. I'm not messing with it. There's a lot of weld slag on there, and it's starting to rust up in places already. But I'm just going to let it ride for now. You can see the frame down here for the number 3, I don't even know where I'm at. The number 4 rat rod build. It was sandblasted, and it's starting to get some surface rust on it just from hand oils and stuff from touching it. It's starting to rust up a little, but that's okay. But that's why I have this one out, is I wanted to show you the similarities. I didn't go into this chassis design with anything. I had no idea. I was thinking hot rod, and it came out to be proportioned right for a crawler. And then I got to looking. I mean, this could be converted to a crawler real easy. All you have to do was make some mounts up here for 4-link, or hang some leaf springs off the front, lengthen the 4-link in the rear. Instead of running a cantilever setup, just put some longer shocks, and you've got like a bob chop rear end rock crawler. And you can throw a hot rod body on. I mean, this stuff is so versatile. There's there's no stopping the creativity. I mean, I could turn this number 4 build into a rock crawler just like this. Real easy. I've thought about it, trust me. So I've been out here doing all day. I cleaned my workshop up. We're having a hurricane weekend. Not really getting anything up here by Dallas, Fort Worth area. It's just cloudy and sprinkles, and the rain hadn't made it up here yet. So it's too wet to mow. So I've just been in the shop all day cleaning and did dishes and boring stuff like that. Just trying to catch up from the hectic week at work. So my mind's still been turning. I've got that RC 4-wheel drive radiator that I talked about in a previous video, and I can see that behind the rat rod cab mounted between some roll bars. And I'm liking the way these tires and wheels look. I did make a purchase on eBay earlier of some 1.9s. I don't know, they might be too big. We'll just have to wait and see. I've not had many 1.9s. Everything I have is 1.55 or 1.7. Yeah, those DCMs are 1.7. Most everything's 1.55. But I do have a set of these with a spare. So I might have a spare mounted up on the roll bar as well, with the radiator in it. Hoses run down under the body, run up to the engine. Got a lot of potential here. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. That grill just fit perfectly between the rails. Everything's jiving nicely up front. I think where I've got it sitting right now is going to be a little lower than ride height, unless I do a full droop setup. But I don't know. Once we get it running and rolling, then we can worry about tuning the suspension. There's still a lot of tube work and stuff left once we get the body and get the drivetrain in. So, but anyways, I posted it on Instagram and it's getting a lot of response. So I thought I would touch on that first, especially since I had all the footage from welding all this stuff together. Excuse me. But yeah, I don't know what else we're gonna do today. I've got a lot of stuff I want to do, but we'll see what all we can squeeze in. I'm trying not to make the video 2 hours long this time. Alright guys, switching gears. I got out earlier before the rain started getting here and did a little painting. This is the 5-window coupe body. It's been a lot of colors already. No, it hasn't been on anything yet. You can see where I've cut out to allow for this suspension travel on that frame behind it. I sat out here for a little while looking at all my paint cans on a shelf, and I want to do something different. Every time I want to try a new color and see how the weathering stuff, how the rust and the pigments and stuff take to it. But I didn't really have anything that jumped out, and this is what I did the number 1, the 32 Roadster rat rod in. It's just a Rust-Oleum Hunter Green. It is a gloss. I haven't found a satin or matte finish in that I like yet. So on those I've been using the gloss, and I'll wet sand it down, it might make my own satin basically, and then I'll weather on top of that. So I went ahead and put a good heavy coat on. I started with a black base coat, and one of the little tricks that I don't remember where I learned it from, but I've always done. So when you're doing a patina or a weathered finish, and especially if it's a bright color, start with a dark base. It's the opposite of what you would do normally if you were painting. If you're painting a silver or I don't know, I think like a bright candy blue paint job on a lowrider, you're going to do a silver metallic base. Well, that makes the final color brighter. And this, you want it to look darker and dingier, so you use a darker colored base. So I just hit it with some flat black. I did a pretty thick coat. Part of the deal with this is I've been sanding on it, primer sanding off and on for a few months, and still got some lines from the printing. This was printed at Shapeways. There are still a few marks in it, just from the nature of the printing. So the more paint you put on, the more sanding you do, the smoother you'll get it. Just like priming and filling, I got tired of doing primer, so I'm going to use the paint because it seems to fill in more evenly, especially this Rust-Oleum stuff. So it's pretty smooth. It looks pretty good. There's still a bit of an orange peel to it because it's the gloss, but and then like I said, this is a really thick coat, like half a can thick. So I'm gonna let this dry for a week or so and See, I know there's a couple light spots here and there, but it's starting to rain again outside, so I can't go out and hit it again right now. So I'll let it dry for about a week, and then I'll come back. I'll probably go ahead and wet sand it with at least 600-800 grit, knock it down pretty good, and then come back with another really heavy coat. And that ought to do it, and then I can just do a light wet sanding with 1,000 or 1,500 and knock the clear off, and then we can move on to weathering and more exciting fun stuff, and hopefully maybe at that point we'll have a better idea of what we're going to do on the frame, because I still, to me, like the truck cabs, the chopped truck cabs, that could be a crawler. It's a truck obviously, but a 5-window coupe, I don't want to see that as a crawler. It's got a trunk. I mean, it needs to be a hot rod. It needs to be a rat rod. So we'll have to think about that chassis again later. But like I said, that's not even on the list right now. I got too many kettles in the fire, and you see I've already started a couple more since I've been back. But I'm trying to just go with the creativity. And right now, I'm following the crawler side of things more. So that's what we're gonna roll with. I just wanted to show you that, and yep, let's see what's next. Alright guys, so I got a package in the mail. I got my prizes for the Reader's Ride of the Month from RCCaraction and from Proline. And first off, I got a hat that fits. I'm excited about. It's a flex fit, so it better fit. And I got a Proline Racing shirt. There. I don't know what one they call that. This says white t-shirt medium. And I've already opened it. I had to take a peek at it. Got the Proline 66 Chevy pickup body. Alright, so when I got this at the time, they were out of the complete ones. They were sold out on their website, the truck with the cab and the bed. So I opted just to get the cab, because even back then I was thinking mud truck. It's 66 Chevy C10 clear body, cab only for SCX10 Trail Honcho 12.3 313 millimeter wheelbase. The picture of it they have shows it on an ascender frame. You can tell by the axles, but it's pretty nice. Again, not a fan of Lexan, but for the mud truck, I was thinking, I mean, there's not going to be any more metal to it. It's just going to be a cab, a hood, a grill. I thought maybe we could try to paint it from the outside, like I talked about with my Tamiya Porsche. It's pretty dang big. That stuff, it's almost bigger than the RC 4-wheel drive K5 body. It's close to the same proportions, but it looks big. So not sure yet what I'm gonna do with that. I'm thinking mud truck, but I don't know. Let me get the frame out here and we'll mock it up. Alright, so as you can see, it's the same situation with the Trail Finder 2 frame that we had making the K10 body that we did before. The wheelbase is just off. The wheelbase is perfect for the Blazer, but the trucks are longer than the Blazer. Even the short beds are longer wheelbase, so that's going to be something I didn't think about all the way. I'm not sure about that yet. Now, they are available finally through RC 4-wheel drives. You can buy the TF2 long wheelbase chassis set. I haven't seen any come up on eBay for sale yet. They're usually cheaper when you find somebody's just parting out a kit or something. But I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. Now that I've started this other crawler build with the rat rod cab, I'm already seeing parts I need to steal back from the mud truck, so I don't know. I hate how that works. I just don't have enough money to buy more of stuff, you know. It's just a constant battle what parts get used where. So I don't know yet. I mean, both of those are still tentative. I just did look on eBay for an SCX10 parts car kind of deal. I can't find much. Everybody thinks stuff's worth a fortune, and like I said, I found that stuff locally, but it was pretty ragged out, and I can't see paying top dollar for something that's worn out. You know, I mean, the bodies of your shocks are worn down. That's a pretty indication it's been pretty heavily wheeled, and there's still mud and stuff caked to everything. It's hard to see the real condition, or your axle housing is shaped different than it used to be because of wear. That's not what I'm looking for. I used to be able to find stuff like that on eBay all the time. It'd be like somebody would buy a ready to run, take the body, tires and wheels, all the electronics out of it, and sell the roller, and they would sell the tires and wheels and the body and stuff separate. They'd make a little money, and then I could pick up a brand new SEX10 with no electronics or tires for, I don't know, $200, give or take. But those deals are hard to come by these days, so I don't know. Let me cut some of it off of this body so we can fit it down a little lower. I'm just curious to see how it looks with those tires. Alright guys, that went surprisingly well. This is a very thick body. Proline, for their off-road applications, man, they're making them very, very solid. I don't know how many millimeter this is, but it is pretty thick. Now, all I went with this old crappy box cutter and scored the edges, and I just peeled the edges right off. I don't know. You got me how that worked so well, but I'll take it. Left the front lip on here. Things were going so good I didn't want to mess it up. So that's what we're looking like on the fitment. Tires and wheels fit perfect. I think I'd have full turning radius and stuff in the front, but again, the wheelbase is off. What's that noise? Huh. Anyway, I'm hearing stuff now. So yeah, I don't know. I could get the long wheelbase frame and just bolt all this stuff right up to it. I could do something completely different with all this stuff. I don't know yet. Let me know what you guys think. I know I've been wanting to do a mud truck, but this is why it never happens, because I got so many other things going. I could use these parts right now for the rat crawler thing build over there that I'm looking at. But I don't know. I need to wait on that build. I got too excited about it. I need to wait till my new body's here. That way we can make sure everything's going to jive right, and then start looking at fitting stuff around it and finish the chassis before we start mounting everything to it. So I keep getting ahead of myself. It's easy to do. I got excited. I don't really have a sponsor for some upcoming stuff, but I was approached by some people, and we're going to have some more updates to the Scale Garage and some new products and stuff to talk about. So pretty excited about all that. I just got to wait on the stuff to get here. So anyway, that's what the Proline body looks like on those mud tires. Not bad. I just wish it was a hard body. I would love to have that truck as a hard body. That would be worth, I'd buy the whole kit for the Trail Finder 2 long wheelbase and make that a scale truck. We had, I'm sure I've talked about it before in my videos. When I was a little kid, that was the only vehicle we had. I think it was a 64, short bed, step side, three speed on the column, 6-cylinder, and that was our only car. Family of 4. We had no AC, vinyl seat. It was white interior, and it had a white canvas bed cover that snapped on. And I love that body style of truck. I always wanted to get one. I'm always looking at them on Craigslist, but I can't afford more projects right now, especially full-size car projects. So anyway, yeah, that's one of my favorite body styles of Chevy truck. I don't like the 60 to 63. I think I don't like the wraparound window on them. I like the 64 to 66 with the laid-back windshield post, and you have the vent window on the side. Just the better proportions, I think. But anyways, got one little project here I'm going to look at. Alright, so in last week's video we talked about the my Amigo, my short wheelbase TF2. I went ahead and took the bumper off where it had broken, and I cleaned it up, got it ready to weld. So I think I'm going to go ahead and give that a shot. It's going to be tricky to hold it all in place. It's weird angles, and since I had to grind off most all of the brass from the brazing, it's not as even as it was. And there's still a little brass on there. It's going to affect the weld some, but hoping it goes pretty smoothly. Not sure if I said it in the last little second, but big thanks to RCCaraction and to Proline for picking my builds for the Reader's Rides. It's pretty cool just to be in it. I never expected to be the Ride of the Month. That's a pretty big honor, and to get prizes, I didn't even know about that. I haven't looked at thought about entering that since I was a little kid, and I got these hot rod things going, and it was just kind of a whim. I just submitted it. I even sent it to I sent it to somebody's personal email the first time. I found it in a forum. I was like, oh hey, I ought to do that. And yeah, he sent me to the right place. So yeah, that was neat. It was a big shock. So it's quite an honor. I hope I can keep building some cool stuff worthy to be featured. So I'm gonna get the welder set up. Try to move everything out of the way I don't want burned. And we'll try to get this thing fixed. That worked out pretty well. I moved my welder earlier so I could vacuum. I just tucked it up here under my workbench, under the scale garage actually. And it's got such long leads on it that it'll reach over to where I've been welding at, and the plug will reach over to where I have power. So yeah, that worked out really well. Now I don't have to lug that thing around. It's not super lightweight, but it definitely works. I think right now I'm gonna go ahead and put it all back together. I'm not gonna repaint this. It burned some of the paint off, and I got a wire brush, and I wiped or scrubbed some of the gunk off of it, but it looks pretty good, you know. And that Amigo body has a lot of scratches and rash on it. It's just how I got it. So I'm just gonna roll with it. It'll fit the body. Hopefully this will hold pretty good. I did 3 good tacks around both sides of the tube onto a 1/8" flat bar stock that I used to mount it to the stock front bumper mount. So I think it'll work out pretty good. Let me get not looking forward to wiring the lights back up. It was a mess getting those lights off. But let me get all that stuff back, find all the little hardware, and we'll get all that back together. Alright guys, I got everything laid out. I did of course break one of my license plate bolts in the bumper when I was taking them out, so that's going to be interesting. I don't think it's got enough thread available to get started. Not sure where these scale bolts came from, but they are not strong whatsoever. Because you hadn't seen these plates, they are from RCDMV. Aaron Painter, he's been doing plates for a very long time, and I think he took a break for a while too, but last I saw on Facebook he was back in business, and I've always been happy with the quality of plates that I've gotten from him. Oh, I don't think this one's gonna work. Dang it. Nah, it ain't gonna work. We may have to hold the plate on with one bolt now instead of 2. If I can get, okay, that one is still tightened. We'll even put it crooked a little bit so it's broken, but my Amigo, it's like a little billy goat, and it's an Amigo. But those were some personalized Texas plates that you can order back a year or so ago when I made this, and I thought they were pretty fitting. I like the style of them, so I did that. Let's see. That was the trick to these. It has to go in from the bottom. I had some trouble getting these off too. I think I put the brackets on first before, so it made putting the should have done this before the license plate. Tiny little stuff. I think these are 2 or 2.5 millimeter or M2 hardware. Phone's going crazy. It's just Instagram. Been posting lots of, not lots, only done a couple pictures tonight. Really excited about that rat crawler, I don't know what we're going to call it yet. I hate that. Like, I had all these plans all week for my Saturday night video, and I come in here to get ready, and I just throw that together, and I'm like, crap, I need an SCX10. I need parts. And that's the only thing I want to do now. I'm still getting stuff done. This was on my to-do list tonight, so at least we're getting that done. Now I can put the body of the Amigo back together and get it on there. That body is a pain in the butt to install. Just the way that chassis set up for the Tamiya Jeep Wrangler body and other bodies that size, or the wheelbase is right, but they don't quite fit the same, so it's a lot of work. But I'll show you that here when we get there. If I can get these things tight enough. I may have to find those other needle nose. Got some really, really fine tip needle nose pliers somewhere. I don't know where. They're probably out in my toolbox with the real car. I don't think those, they might work. Yeah, that'll work. Alright. Cool deal. I ran out of, apparently I used all of my black zip ties, little teeny tiny ones on this before, so we have to use some green ones. Not sure how that's going to look, but oh well. The car's green, so it'll work. Those pointed somewhat straight. There we go. And those are the Baja Designs lights from RC4 Drive. And those were actually, I think they were only 20 bucks. They're pretty bright, and they're very scale looking. I was pretty happy with them. So, yeah, let me get this mounted up. I don't know where my screws went. Oh, I know. That's part of the issue here, is the front body mount is also the bumper mount. I have mounts on the inside of the body that go on the outside of this, and then they go through to the bumper mount, and it's all one thing. So I'm going to have to try to wire the lights up while it's dangling. So I've got these, they're Y adapters. I have everything tied into spare channels on the, I got one on the receiver and one on the ESC. This is set up for lights on in the headlights of the body, and that plug is over here. I'll just plug that into the body before I set it down. That way everything comes on when you power up the vehicle. That's why I'm not a fan of LEDs, because it's just so much work trying to wire them. I'm not as good as a lot of folks with that. They can run through and solder their own connections and do, harnesses that are exactly the right length and things like that. And that makes it look a lot better and easier to run the wires and stuff. But I was never that good at small wiring. I got too shaky hands, and it just wasn't in the cards for me. So I just use whatever I can buy to do it and hope for the best. Now the wire before just ran down one of the bumper, the stinger arms, and up under the body. Trying to get them nice and snug and on the back side of the bumper so it doesn't stand out like a sore thumb. And the giant green zip ties. These are the smallest ones I've got. Down here. Hopefully 3 will do the trick. But yeah, the rear body mount on this is, I've got videos on it. It uses the stock mount, but I've got longer screws and some like suspension link spacers to get everything fitting in the right place. And it's a little tricky. You have to do it upside down. Where's my cutters? There they are. But oh, and the battery on this thing is teeny tiny, so it has very short run times. But it's just a trail truck. It's not a serious crawler, so that's all right. And I'm sure I could find a lipo that size if I really wanted to, but I still shy away from the lipos. Alright, so we'll slide this up here. And it slides on like any TF2 bumper mount. Fits in the frame ends. And there we go. Now, I'll try to pull all this mess up here and hide it. Just double it back over here. This is a very tight fit. The body that I have, the interior that I've done, it fills up everything with the dash from the Loops model. There's not any space, so everything is right here in the front, and the battery is in the console of the body or the interior, and there's just very, very limited space. So even when I put the body on, it's pushing down against all this and fits nice and snug. Alright, I think that'll work for now. Well, let me put one more in there. Better safe than sorry. If I can get it through. Ooh, phone's going crazy again. Got it hooked to my Bluetooth shop speaker, so all my notifications are louder than they should be. So I've been listening to music here between sets. Got a Pantera radio going. Keep the energy going. Alright, let me go find the screws and then we'll come back. Alright, took a minute to get all set up. I'm missing a bunch of hardware. So, we've got the two on the front, on the sides. I have aluminum angles up front that mount to the body, that angle over and mount to the frame. And then in the rear, we've got the stock body mounts with some new holes drilled in them. And I've got these long bolts with spacer, look too long, and we have to put nuts on the back of those, so it is tedious to say the least. So I think I'm gonna have to slide the rear end first. Let me get that through. Alright guys, I finally got it back together. It's been a while since I've done that, so it was a little challenging. I did see one little thing here after moving the mud truck back. Those little mud tires would fit perfect on the Amigo. They'd stick out a little bit, and they would be shorter than these, so they wouldn't rub. Might be a cool little look, have an Amigo mud truck. I don't know. Bumper's on. I got it pretty dang straight. Feels pretty sturdy. I don't know. We'll see how it holds up over time. But if it breaks again, we can weld it back. It's no big issue when you have the right tools. So, excuse me. I love that little truck. It's just so neat and compact, and that's such a real body. And that's from early '90s Tamiya. It's really a cool little truck. But anyways, I did charge a battery. It's already dark now. And like I said, it's been cloudy because of the hurricane and all that. So I can't get out and drive, but I do need to at least do a test. I haven't driven my my original Trailfinder 2 frame that we put the red Hilux body on. I haven't driven it in a while. It's got RC4 drive CAN motor, stock ESC, nothing fancy at all. And my flat tires here. So I'm going to throw a battery in that, put the body on, and we're just going to run through the motions, make sure everything works. Alright guys, so I've got a little bit of feedback through the servo. Oh, it stopped as soon as I said that. That's cool. Of course, tires are already flat spotting. This thing is heavy. I mean, it's fully loaded. It's looking like my suspension may be a little soft. I'm getting a lot of torque through the body lean. So I got a little bit of get up and go. Definitely got to get some phones though. Everything seems to be working. I had couldn't remember what I had this named on my controller. My DX3, I just had it under TF2. I thought it had it under old blue, which they've changed out the bodies now. It's no longer blue. And we knocked everything off. It's working good though. I've got a 5,000 milliamp stick pack in there. There you can hear the noise through the servo. I think that's about a $36, $38 Savox. It's not a fancy servo at all, but it works. So we've got a pretty good amount of flex, and with the trimming that I've done on the Mojave body, it doesn't rub that bad. Let's see if we can back up the ramp. We could probably even flex more than that, just a little bit. And a lot of that cushion is the tires too. There's just no. I mean, we're running like 5 pounds. I think if I took this out on the actual rocks right now, it would probably rip the tire. They're so flat. So, yeah. Anyway, it's cool to see it run. I haven't driven it in a while. I was really hoping to get it outside, get it a little muddy. I've about knocked all the old mud off the tires, so I was hoping to freshen it up a bit. It's kind of weird. A lot of my stuff here that I brazed back, I don't know how long ago, when I did the roll bars and stuff. Let me get you a closer look. Not sure if you can see that very well, but I guess the flux ate through the paint, and I'm getting some white, and the paint's chipping off. Maybe it gassed out of sorts, something like that. That's all I can figure, but yeah, it's a rock crawler, so it's like the rat rods. Rust and paint chipping is fine. That thing is so heavy, especially with the battery in it. It's just, there's no air left in those front tires. And it's super soft, and that's just stock SCX 10 shocks on there. Nothing been done to them. I haven't even been in them. Make sure there's fluid. They feel like there's fluid. Obviously, I would have been in them, but they they work pretty well. I had the chassis has a connector for lights, but it was the other body that I had a light kit in. So maybe we can do something with this body here eventually. I think I've got some spare RC four-wheel drive light sets. But yeah, let's move on to something else. So I figured I'd show everybody the Blazer again, since I haven't had it in a video yet since I've been back. Like I mentioned, I have it sold, maybe. Still waiting to find out. It's expensive, and giving the buyer time to put the money together. I haven't talked to him in a little while, so I'm not sure he still wants it or not. If I don't sell it soon, I may start doing stuff to it again. I ran across some stuff on eBay the other night. The RC4 drive got some different V8 parts and stuff. They came out. I love RC4 drive stuff. Don't get me wrong. They came out with a different head for the scale V8, and you can't tell anything's different. It looks like the one it comes with. It's just had the anodized finish sandblasted off of it. If you watch Cyanide Tube's videos, his rat rod build, his charity auction he's doing, he did that to the stock heads. He had them sandblasted by his friend, so they look more real. So they're not, orange, because nobody has painted heads typically unless they're just stock and they never take them off the block. But any aftermarket head is going to be billet or polished or, bare metal. And yeah, and they're like $50. I thought, well, that's a neat option, for people that don't have option for sandblasting, but the price, my God, it was ridiculous. And there's so many little details on it, you couldn't sand it down. It really has to be blasted off, that anodizing. But I was looking at some of the valve covers and stuff. I thought this is a 80s Chevy, or late 70s, early 80s Chevy. It had some the black and polished Holly, I think it was Holly valve covers, or Mickey Thompson valve covers, I think. I don't know. They're the black and silver ones, and I thought they would look good on here, but I don't know. I'm still kind of bitter about the V8 since I bought all those other accessories for it that don't fit the version 1 of that. The water neck doesn't fit. You're supposed to glue it on, and I didn't want to glue it. I wanted to bolt it. It's, you know, the intake manifold has the holes. It's just nothing's tapped, and they're not the same size as the water neck. And I get that the water neck was an afterthought. That's something they came up and developed later, and it had to be due to the scale look of it. It was a little bit bigger than the original intake manifold had the place for, so they had to make it a little bigger just to allow you to be able to bolt it on and all that. But still, nowhere is there any information about whether you're buying a version 1 or version 2 scale V8. And I thought about buying a whole nother engine. I sent RC4 Drive an email, but it never got returned, just to see if I could buy the intake manifold for the version 2, and I could swap it on to the version 1, bolt my water neck on, and go on with adding their accessories to it. But yeah, I never got a response, so I don't know. I'm just a little butthurt about that, but that's how it is. I mean, you can't. One bad experience. Look at all the awesome stuff they brought us. I mean, this body for one. This whole rig here is pretty cool looking, and you know, not everything can be a win. So take it for what it is. You know, if you've got a version 2 engine, then everything will bolt right on, and you'll be set. So I don't know. That's part of the reason why I've been reluctant to buy another scale V8, because realistically, I would love to take the drivetrain out of this and put it in there, because the steering problems with the V8 also. The servo mounting is kind of an afterthought. If you want a scale engine compartment with a core support, where's mine at? Which I made a core support with a radiator to mount in my Blazer. That this sits on top of where my servo is. My servo is laid down flat, and I spent $100 on the servo. It is a ProTech. It's super quiet, super smooth. It's a nice servo. I've never had a servo that nice. But just due to space constraints, when you mount the V8, it tells you to put the servo in the front position, mounted this way. And when you open the hood, it's like you couldn't even put the belts on the engine because the servo is right there, and that kind of seemed to defeat the purpose for me. So that's why I found a way to lay the servo down, and it makes the steering geometry much better actually, and it works really well. But it's still there's not a mini. It's a mini servo. It's the shorter, like a drift car servo, and there's not a whole lot of those with a lot of torque. And being as heavy as this thing is, mainly because of the body and the roof and all that, it needs a pretty fair amount of torque on the servo, and with these big tires too. But this servo has been working pretty good. It won't, if I'm bound up on a rock, it won't turn. It'll just, but it doesn't make any noise. It's not like the Savox one earlier on my red Hilux that was chirping like a frog. It makes absolutely zero noise, which is pretty cool for a servo. I've never had a quiet servo before. So anyway, that's my feelings on the scale V8. I would love to put them on everything I have, but A, they're too expensive. If you go through and buy the V8, the R4 transmission, a motor to put in it, an ESC, the distributor, headers, water pump, radiator, all the accessories for the scale V8, it's almost, depending on what motor and ESC you use, you're $600-700, and that's a lot of money just for the drivetrain. When you consider the whole kit is what, $379 just for the frame, $140 for the Blazer body. You're looking at just parts alone right there for $1,200. And I don't know. It's a different world, I guess. It's hard to justify spending that much on a toy. I know to a lot of folks it's more than a toy. I mean, it's more than a toy for me, but again, I have to live in reality. I make pretty good money, but you know, I have a house, I have a truck, I have bills and things you have to pay for. That new mattress I bought a couple weeks ago, I've got to pay for still, and you know, it's just part of being an adult, I guess. But if money's no object, man, that's the place to go. Sorry, I was taking a drink. So, still don't know if this thing is sold or not yet. That body probably weighs 4 pounds by itself. But like I said, I'm pretty budget minded. I've got the let me see if I can get you focused. I've got a Holmes Hobby, I think it's a 35 turn motor in the V8, and that was only 35, 40 bucks. Very reasonably priced. I've got an Axial AE2, I think, just the knockoff Castle ESC. It's brushless compatible. I don't do brushless, but it works. And it works pretty well for as cheap as it was. I think I got that for around 30 or 40 bucks on eBay. So it's, you know, it's pretty basic, despite the $110 servo. And so that was a ProTech. Oh, it doesn't say the model on it, does it? Nope. It's expensive ProTech, but you can hear when I turn it. Super, super quiet, super smooth. I was impressed with it. If I could find a ProTech servo for all my rigs, I would do that over the Savox. But I mean, you're paying for it. Even I think I've got, what was Savox? This one's pretty nice. I don't remember how much it was. It's a SA1231. This was in my I don't remember what build that was in. It was one I bought to upgrade something with. I think it was in the Maroon Hilux originally when it had a Trailfinder frame, and it's just noisy, it's jittery, and it just makes a bunch of noise. It had plenty of torque, and it had the torque, but it was just noisy little bugger. But yeah, I still got that, so I'm gonna be putting that in here in something before long. But yeah, the Blazer's still here. Still got my custom rear bumper on it. I lost my license plate. Oh, I forgot about that. When I took it out to the off-road expo, that was a nightmare. That's when I broke the bumper off the Amigo. I lost one of my scale hubs on the front from locked up RC, and I lost my rear license plate, and then I broke the bumper off the Amigo, and I didn't even get to drive but maybe 5 minutes. I went out there, and they had like brushless SCX10s for everybody to play with. It was a free-for-all. Every little kid was out there just bashing and flipping and rolling, and here I am with a $1,200 rig just trying to crawl. It didn't go very well. And then my tire fell off, and it was like a real gravelly dirt mix, and there was no finding it or my license plate. So that was upsetting, but you live and you learn. Yeah, I'm sorry there's not been a whole lot of action in this video after the beginning. I keep coming back to this. This is what I want to be doing right now. I don't have the stuff to do it. This is driving me nuts. I'm glad I fixed the Amigo bumper, but this is where it's at, man. This is what I want to start messing with. Now, my plan all week was to come out here and build a full cage for this chassis, and have a stinger and a full tube rear end. And when I got out here and started looking at this body, I can see all the shock mounts and how the suspension's gonna hang, but I don't have the right body, so I have to wait. But I want to mock it up and keep looking at it. I like it a little bit longer. I think that is again, I'm not sure about the tires and wheels, but I think the longer wheelbase is gonna look good on it. And that's why I'm leaning more towards at least an SCX10 axle, because they are wider than like the RC 4-wheel drive Yoda 2s and all that. I thought about a Wraith axle, but I'm afraid that's going to be way too wide. I bought some Wraith width D44s a long time ago. I bought them used on eBay. They were still a couple $100. They were nice and solid. They were scratched up pretty good, but they were in good shape working. But they were just so wide. Good Lord, you could have put 2.2s on them and they would have looked silly on something like this with kind of an open wheel setup like this. No fenders and none of that. So I don't know. I've never had a Wraith. I've never had anything that serious of a rock crawler. I've had an SCX10 before. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I've got some late nights on the internet doing some searching. it's probably going to come down to whatever I can afford. You know, money's always the issue with parts and things. So yeah, I ran out of stuff to sell. I cleaned house while I was off the 2 weeks or 2 months, sorry, off from YouTube, and I sold off all my spare stuff, and that's how I got a little bit of money in savings and did all that. But yeah, now that I'm back rolling with the channel, it's like, oh man, I need this, I need that, I need this. So I've already spent more than I should just on little odds and ends. I bought those 1.9 tires and wheels today, which I'm hoping will work great for this. But like I said, this is going to be part of a featured build. The body that we've got coming is it's going to be pretty cool. It's something different. Still a hot rod. Still going to be open wheeled and ratty like this, and I just can't move forward on the chassis build till I get it. So I'm kind of stuck. It sucks. But yeah, let me know what y'all think. What axle do you think I should go with? Because I'm thinking I can buy, maybe I can pick up a good used SCX-10 something a little bit, you know, it's hard to find a good used SCX-10 now that 2s have come out. I found used SCX-10 that were already ragged out and beat up pretty bad. So, you know, that's the problem with plastic stuff. With like an RC4 drive axle, I can get a pretty good idea of how hard it's been used based on how many scratches are on the bottom of it. But with an SCX-10 axle, you never know. It could be completely trash. Somebody throw a new housing on it for $8 and sell it as new. So it's always sketchy buying used stuff like that on the internet. But I don't know. What do you think? Wraith or axle or Wraith axle or SCX-10 width? I really think SCX-10 would be enough, but let me know what y'all think in the comments. I do like the look of the Wraith axle with the offset pumpkin in the front. And again, money is the object here. So don't, you know, you send me links to some $600 axle set from China. I've seen them all on eBay, the Wraith widths, and they've got the Curry housings and all the awesome stuff, but I really can't afford that. And you know, I've got to keep budget in mind, because I bought another project. Not today, it was a couple days ago. My buddy Richard Cook, he had that Tamiya sand scorcher, and that's one of my RC bucket list items. So I got on Shapeways and started looking at all of it. There's a whole series of parts for the sand scorcher from a designer who goes by Junkyard Stance. If you look for him on Shapeways, he's got everything from roof racks to light bars to bumpers to wheels. The entire scale Porsche flat 6 engine with machine gun turret exhaust tips. I mean, he's got everything. I went through and put all of his sand scorcher stuff in my shopping cart on Shapeways, and it was like $650. I mean, he's got so many little things for it. And that aside, I bought Richard Cook's sand scorcher. He got it built, and Tamiya builds like that, the old build, there's a lot of metal parts, a lot of Loctite needed, a lot of, it's not like building your SCX-10 or even, you know, it's even more detailed and complicated than like a Trailfinder chassis putting together. Those old Tamiya kits, they're still based off the original 80s design, and very precise, and I know I can trust that he did it right. He's an old school RC guy like me. He's been building stuff since he was a kid, and I know it's going to be a great foundation to build off of. I know he's done a few mods to it, and it's all stuff that parallels my thinking. We kind of have the same taste as far as the hobby goes, so I know it's going to be a great deal, and of course he's a great guy to deal with, so he gave me a really fair price. I couldn't turn it down. So that should be in the mail next week, and hopefully we can start messing around with that. I really want to drive it. I don't know why. I always see the old 80s commercials for the Tamiyas. There's a bunch, you've seen them all probably for the Bruisers, the Hilux body and all that, and they're jumping through sand dunes and stuff. That was the thing, man. Back in the 80s, the RC hobby, Tamiyas were where it was at. Even my dad, before he got married, he had a Wild Willie, original Wild Willie. The guys he worked with had, one of them had a Hornet. They would all get together and play with their RC cars, and it was kind of cool. And that's one of the things I wish I still had it. That's a really good story. I'll tell you, since this is kind of how these videos work. So when I was a little kid, my dad had his Wild Willie, and it was meticulously done. It was maroon, and every little detail was painted. The Wild Willie body has the roll bar, the gauges, the driver with the face and the helmet, and he did all that, and it was amazing. It looks so realistic. The Wild Willie driver is kind of disproportionate. He's kind of bulky. He's got kind of like cartoon eyes, but the one my dad had built was so well done. And I think that's partly why I'm so into the scale scene nowadays, is because that, as a child, that was just spectacular. And when I got into RC, and my really got into RC, like the hobby grade stuff, in my early teens, the Wild Willie had broke. He'd stripped the gears out of the rear end or something on it, because all it does is pop wheelies, and it was that's part of the reason he never got more into it, because that was completely useless. All his friends had buggies and sand scorchers and stuff, and they're out jumping sand dunes, and all his wants to do is pop a wheelie. But he did this really cool civilian military theme kind of Jeep, and it was just like a semi-gloss maroon. The driver was super detailed, had racing stickers here and there, but real nicely done. He had an eye for it, like I think I do. And when I got into the hobby grade RC stuff, he got that out, and we messed with it a little bit. We never got it running, but we painted like back in, this was the early 90s. We painted ooze on the front, and it had like the globs running back. Instead of flames, it had ooze running down. And he like free-handed it, and that was always impressive to me too. And he helped me with lots of with RC bodies and stuff, painting, and we did lots of stuff wrong. The first Lexan body that we tried to do, one of my Tamiya touring cars, we painted it, and it was awesome, but we painted it with like model paint. And the first time I drove it and hit something, all the paint cracked and fell off. But you live and you learn. But it was good father-son time. Stuff that I think back to all the time when I'm out here in the shop. But I completely forgot where I started that story from. The sand scorcher. Anyway. So yeah, the old Tamiya stuff is very different. It's very different than the new stuff. It's not as durable, but it's more detail. It's more problematic. So that, to me, watching the old commercials and stuff of the Tamiyas, I want to get that thing out in the dirt and rip it up. And in the meantime, it's a hard body, so it's the best of both worlds. It's new, but it's a remake of the vintage one, and it's a hard body, and there's stuff for it to add a dash and a rear deck lid and things you can do to it to make it scale. So I'm really excited about that. I know I really, that was the money that I had to do stuff to this build. I kind of shot myself in the foot, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity to buy it. And I know it's built right. I know he's a good builder, and I know it'll be a great foundation for another custom build. And it's something I've always wanted to do. So it's one of those RC bucket list items. I really think I will never sell it. I haven't even seen it yet in person. All I've seen is his build pictures from his Facebook, and that was months and months ago. And it was so bad because I wanted to buy one. I wanted to build along with him and all that, but now I get to start with a good foundation and see what we can make out of it. And I think it's going to look pretty awesome here in the shop as well. It's not just a showpiece though. Like my number 2 build back there and it runs, it drives. It's got an ESC in it, brushless setup. I've got a video of it doing burnout, but it's pretty much a showpiece. What am I going to do? I've got a 30 by 50 or so slab out in my backyard for a shop. We go out there and drive around in circles. I mean, it's it's not super fast because of the gearing and stuff from the the crawler drivetrain that's in it. And it's not going to handle real good because it's a rat rod and it's a solid front axle, and it's a real long wheelbase. The rear suspension's too soft. It's just a showpiece. So that's all I'm excited about the sand scorcher, because it's going to be a runner. It's going to be hopefully look as good as the number 2, and be able to get out and bash on it a little bit and have some fun. Be my hard body buggy. But yeah, story time's over. Let's see what we can do next. Alright guys, so that's it for this Saturday night video. I think everybody's out watching the fight, McGregor and the other guy. I don't keep up with any of that stuff, I don't know. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about this build and all the stuff that goes along with it. There's a couple things I haven't mentioned yet that I can't. I'm just waiting and itching. But you know, we'll get to that here before long. Like I said, I've got some stuff planned to come up for the scale garage. We're going to do some updates to that, some things I've really wanted to do for a very long time. And it just happened to work out where I can get some stuff to do it. And we can get back to some little detail work and stuff like that that I get pretty excited about. But yeah, had a rough week, another rough week at work, so these Saturday night things are really nice to get out and just kind of put the week behind me, get out here and forget about work and all that stress and just play with little trucks. I've still been out working on the on my 58 Chevy Del Rey. It's not running very good. I think it has a timing issue. It's straight 6. It's finicky as hell, but I tried to fix it, so now it's running even worse. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I've been toying with the idea of throwing a V8 in it. It would just be better, but I don't know. It's the original motor, the original transmission, and it's something about everything in it being original still kind of, even though it's completely hacked and rusted and whatever, but I don't know. That's neither here nor there. I mean, we're in the scale shop tonight, so let's talk about scale trucks. Yeah, if you're interested in this body, you can contact Nightcrawlers 3D on Instagram. He prints those off. He can get the standard height, chopped, or extremely chopped, which this one is. It's a little bit big for this frame. I'm pretty sure the one I've got coming is going to fit a lot better. That's why I'm not going to use this one here. This one's a little bit deeper than my Ossum design cab on the number 2 build. But yep, let me know what y'all think about the axles. I was doing some looking online that said the Wraith axles are 9.5 inch hub to hub. They're 9.5 inches, so I mocked that out here with tape measure, and that was just, it looked like a clown car. It was ridiculous. So these bodies are very narrow. I mean, this is probably maybe 6.25 inch at its widest point at the back. So I think a Wraith may be too wide, but let me know what y'all think anyway. Like a SCX-10-1 or SCX-10-2, you know, there's pros and cons to both. I like the beefier internals the original SCX axles had, but I don't know. And I still don't know about this motor either. I mean, it fits perfect, but that motor is like my showpiece. I got $140 tied up in that motor, and it's hard to decide what to put it in. I've had it in the monster truck. I've had it in this now. Mainly, I've just had it laying around the shop. So I don't know where I want to use it. I still have this blown small block Chevy here, which could be thrown in something like this just as easily. I don't know how well it would fit. It's got some pre-existing motor mounts. This is a lot lighter. This is a plastic model, so that might be better. This is really heavy. This is aluminum and Delrin. I have the body propped up there. So I don't know. They got lots of options, which is nice when you're doing something from scratch. So yeah. Anyway, hopefully this hurricane blows through before long, and we'll get our rain and get it over with. Hopefully everybody down in South Texas, if any got any viewers down there, are safe and didn't lose everything in this mess. I was just looking online. There's some tornadoes and stuff coming around Houston right now. It's 10 o'clock. It's a bad deal, but you know, nature has her way. And hopefully everybody can get through it and survive and get back to doing what they love. Hopefully nothing gets in my way from doing what I'm loving. So Yeah. Appreciate everybody watching. I really do. It's been a lot more fun so far these past few weeks since I've been back. And I appreciate all the positive feedback. Everybody's been very supportive, and you know, you got to share the love. I watched the latest video from Cyanide Tube. He's kind of been down in the dumps. He's where I was. He felt like he's forcing himself to do videos, and that it, you know, that's why I told him everybody watches our videos to see what we do, not to see what we've done, and that you just got to go with the flow. You got to follow your creativity. You know, I may never get back to that mud truck. I don't know. I may want to build this first. And people want to watch because of the environment we've created, and his rat rods and stuff that he's doing, all his scratch builds, man. You go back and watch all his old videos. It's impressive, and you can see the progression. Just like with mine, I started out, man. I was gung ho like I am right now, and then it fluctuates. You know, we get in and out of interest, and we get halfway through a build and lose interest and want to do something else. And that's, you know, we're just like y'all. We're just regular RC guys. The only difference is we got a camera pointed in front of us, and we're sharing it with everybody else. And if you haven't checked out his channel, give him a look, leave him a comment. He's got some really cool stuff. I mean, he does very similar stuff that I do, but he does it out of all metal. And he's got, I can't remember what he called it, Black Betty or something. He's got a big giant flat fendered military truck, and it's huge. It's got like Rockwell axles, and he built everything but the axles. I mean, it's just impressive. And the man has some skill. And you know, I'm the same way as him. You know, everybody gets down a little bit. We get negative comments, or you know, with me, I even get upset when I get a thumbs down. It's just nature, you know. This is me. This is my life. This is my personality, and you don't want someone to disapprove of it, even though it's just a random person on the internet. But that's the nature of the beast. That's part of the risk of putting ourselves out here and sharing everything we do with the internet. You always get bad, you always get good. You just got to find the right balance, and you can't let the little things get you down. But like I said, I appreciate all you guys, all the positive feedback I've been getting about the new format, about the current builds, and it's been really awesome. I've gotten a lot of folks on Facebook, new followers on Instagram. Everybody's kind of really into what I've got going right now, and it's a fun wave to ride. So I appreciate it, and we'll see y'all in the next video. Everybody have a good week, and who knows what next Saturday will bring us.